Hello viewers, it's SuperGT here. Welcome to another guide for Forza 6, and in this one we're going to go through some wet weather tips. Now of course the gameplay you can see here is in the rain around the Silverstone short circuit, and I'm driving the Celine S7 in S-Class in multiplayer. So we're going to go through some tips for the wet weather, because this is going to come up quite a lot in online gameplay. So when you're playing online, this is going to come up. Even if you don't like the rain, you know, this is going to come up, so you're going to have to learn it. And it's really quite tricky to get used to, but the key to the whole thing really is the brake and throttle input. So if you look at the bottom right by the speedo, you can see that there's a little red gauge going up and down and a little blue gauge going up and down. So the blue gauge there is my throttle input, and the red gauge is my brake input. Now what you'll notice is that throughout this video I'm never slamming either of them, never slamming them straight down, because that's just going to result in the car getting out of control. So with both the brake and the throttle, you have to be really gradual and make sure you put down, let's say 50% to begin with, before then applying 100%. So you never apply just 100% brakes, because that's just going to lock up, and you know it's going to take longer to brake. Yeah, so the main thing I find for brakes is that you have to brake a lot earlier, a lot earlier. This can be a problem in multiplayer, because if you have people behind you, you know, they're not going to brake at the same time, so they're probably just going to go flying to the back of you. So in that respect it can be tough, but you just have to trust yourself to, you know, brake early, hope that the guy behind you does the same, and then you should be okay. So that's one of the main tips for braking. Obviously just brake a lot earlier, and if you really have to, then just put on the racing line just for initial guide, and that can tell you where you should be braking. And another thing about braking is that you should do it in a straight line wherever possible. So as soon as you start turning, the car really doesn't like doing that, braking and turning at the same time, and your braking distances will become a lot longer. So as you can see here, coming into this corner, it's sort of a curved braking point. So you can see there that I had to turn a little bit, but you notice I don't get the car into a slide. So as soon as the car begins to slide, it's best to correct the slide, go back in a straight line. Even if it's not the ideal line, just make sure the car is braking in a straight line, rather than going sideways. So as soon as your car starts to go sideways and you can feel it, just correct it. Even if it puts you facing the wrong way, just, you know, get your car slowed down primarily. That's the main thing. And then coming out of the corner, you've got to be so patient. This corner, coming onto this back straight, is, I mean, it goes on forever, but you see how back there I was so patient, and you know there's 6 laps in this race, so you can see six examples of me being really patient around that corner. And again through that one, I watch the blue gauge goes up to about 50 and then up to about 100, or up to 100. So you can see I'm never just mashing down the throttle. So the other really big factor in online racing, or with wet weather racing, is the puddles. You really have to learn exactly where they are, and the best thing to do with regards to the curbs is just totally stay off them if you can. Sometimes you can cut across them, but as long as you're really careful. The problem with curbs is that they have lots of puddles on them, and you can't really see the puddles, and you're going to totally lose grip if you go right through them for too long. The best way is just to avoid them completely, the curbs, if you can. And also just on lap 1 of any wet race, just learn where the curbs are, learn where the puddles are, and just make sure you remember them, and just try to avoid them for the next lap. So coming up into this corner, I know there's a massive puddle on the left, so I'm going to go far to the right, then try and go round it there and brake. You can see there, just avoid the puddle completely. So in the dry, that would have been the racing line. I would go where that puddle is, but because obviously it's raining and there's a puddle, I don't want to go through it, because that will just totally throw my car off, and you know I'm just going to end up in the wall. So that's pretty much the main driving tips. It's just being really gradual on the brake and the throttle. Just be really progressive, be really patient, and you should be a lot better. But that is only half the problem, because you have lots of other people on the track with you. So this is a 23 player race, and I'm quite lucky because I'm out in the lead, so there's no one else with me, which makes it quite easy. But when you're in the middle of the pack, that makes it so much harder. So sometimes it's a good idea to check behind you, see who's behind you, see how close they are, and sometimes it's best to brake offline and make sure that they don't go straight into the back of you. So sometimes I look behind, you'll see it in a moment. I check behind me just to make sure this guy doesn't go into the back of me. And when going into corners, sometimes it's best, if you're directly behind someone, perhaps it's best when you're going into a braking zone, don't brake directly behind them, move to the side, and then so that means that if you brake too late, you don't go into the back of them, you just go past them instead, like that guy did there. You see, I checked behind and he was going to ram me as I turned in, but I just didn't turn in because I saw him coming. So sometimes it's best just to be really aware of your competitors, because sometimes even if they're genuinely trying to race well, sometimes they will make mistakes and go into the back of you for whatever reason. So those are a couple of tips for wet weather racing. The main ideas there being: be very gradual on the brakes and the throttle, be very gradual on your steering, just be very patient overall, and avoid the puddles. They're going to really throw you off, and you just want to avoid them wherever you can. So yeah, that's going to be just a very quick guide on wet weather racing. Let me know if you need any more tips on wet weather racing. So I've done quite a fair amount of it now, so I'm fairly experienced. So yeah, that's going to be it. Let me know if you need any more help, and I hope this video will help you. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'll be bringing out plenty more guides in the future. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.